Your God does not know how the female anatomy works. Do you realize that? This is supposed to be the all-knowing God. But for some reason, your God doesn't know how the female anatomy works. You see, according to Deuteronomy 22, this God says that all marriages are considered valid only if the wife is a virgin. If the wife is not a virgin, she shall be executed. Now, how does this work? How would they know if the woman is a virgin? Well, as it continues in this chapter, it talks about that if a man were to sell his daughter to a husband, and then the husband goes into her and finds out that she is not a virgin, then he is to bring her to the elders and bring the case before the elders. And then the proof of her virginity is supposed to be demonstrated at that point. If she is found to be a virgin, then the man who made the accusation has to pay the father 100 pieces of silver. If she is found to have not been a virgin, then the woman is supposed to be taken to the front of her father's house, and then the men of the village are supposed to come and stone her. Now, this is where your God doesn't understand biology. The way that they would prove whether or not the woman was a virgin on her wedding night, because it is when they have sex that the marriage is then consummated. That's when you become married. You don't become married by a ceremony. You don't become married by a piece of paper. You don't become married by a verbal commitment. You become married when the couple have sex. And they put a piece of cloth up under the couple when they have sex. If there is no blood on the cloth, then that woman is pronounced to not have been a virgin. Let that sink in for a minute. Because as many women know, only about 45% of women bleed on their first sexual encounter. 45%. Only 45%. That means that over 50%, 55% of women do not bleed the first time that they have sex. That would indicate that if this rule was followed by the Israelites, if they followed the law of this God, then that means that 55% of the Israelite women stood the possibility of being murdered in one of the most heinous ways of being murdered. I don't know if you guys can imagine stoning. If you ever watched the series Spartacus, had one of the best examples of stoning. Whereas when they was coming into this city that they wanted to take refuge for the winter, a man was yelling out the name Spartacus, 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 and they decided to stone him. People are throwing rocks at this man. He was suffering. Spartacus got tired of it and finally threw a big ass rock and hit him, cracked his skull. But the process of stoning is one of the most gruesome way to die because it takes so much and there's so much pain involved, so much bludgeoning involved, that this is what a woman would go through. But obviously your God does not understand the anatomy to which he supposedly created. If your God created this anatomy, the anatomy of woman, if God created woman, then would not every woman bleed? Every woman who is a virgin, when she first has sex, that woman should bleed. I have known and known of women who did not bleed the first time they had sex, according to their testimony. So, your God could not have created woman because your God doesn't understand how the woman's body works. This is why you have to walk away from these religions, because these religions can put laws into society that would create an unfair situation, a false situation within society. If this law was still followed today, how many women would die from being stoned because they didn't bleed the first time they had sex? How many women listening to this, and if you're brave enough to say so, how many women listening to this would have died because they didn't bleed the first time they had sex? Your God doesn't know biology. Your God got it completely wrong. Therefore, your God did not create man or woman or anything. Therefore, your God does not exist. So y'all have a great day. And remember always, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.